Hello, and welcome to
Bell on Earth.
My name is Cassidy,
My name is Casey.
and together we are the Bell Sisters. Join us each week as we corrupt your soul,
And bring you to salvation.
discussing life, death, and everything in between.
Are you afraid of getting into heaven?
Hello
Hello
and welcome
to Bell on Earth.
the podcast. Yeah, that was more accurate.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about counterculture-ish type things. Kind of like a smorgasbord. Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
A smorgasbord of things outside the social norms.
Yeah.
Like being gay.
Like being gay.
Like gayness. Like them queers.
Those homosexuals.
Yes. And the transsexuals.
I'm a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
Sylvania. Wow.
Yeah. I think
So welcome.
like stop singing every episode because that's why we have no followers.
That's why we have retention after like 3 minutes.
And
Or
then-
sorry, 0% retention after 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Everyone like listens and they're like, never mind. My ears are in pain.
Yeah. True.
Well,
We
if your
thought this
ears
would
are in
be-
pain, get some fucking numbing drops or something because it's not gonna stop.
Wow.
Because today we're gonna talk about
Gender identity.
that was your cue.
Wait,
Yeah.
what was the cue for?
The topics.
Gender identity?
That's one of them.
Counterculture,
Furries,
etc.
etc. Yeah.
We thought this would be a really good Pride episode because it's still Pride. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Happy Juneteenth. That's what we're recording on.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
happy
after that when
Juneteenth.
we publish this, but
Right.
whatever.
Well, it'll still be in the wake of Juneteenth.
Yeah, we still like care about Black people. So
Well, no, it's not February anymore, so we don't.
oh, true.
Yeah.
Well, if they're gay and Black.
Well, that's true. But only the gay side is what matters, not the
True.
Black side.
Yeah.
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 Everyone turns white after February, just like everyone turns straight after June.
True.
Yeah.
This is fair.
How the world works.
Well, I guess we'll just get right into it.
Okay.
So, gender identity, I guess we can start with because that's the most gay out of everything. Although, to be fair, I feel like furries is the most like derogatory gay.
It's gay in like a
And it's like a
really-
slur.
like a Comic Sans type of font.
Yes.
Yeah.
But gender identity. I don't know. Should we talk about our own experiences?
Yeah, I think that's fine. That's like the point of Pride or whatever, right?
Yeah.
To be proud. To share your experience.
To be proud. Sigh.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
I think you should go first. Mine's a little bit more convoluted, I think.
Okay. Well, I don't feel like I have much to share in terms of like gender identity because I've always felt comfortable in mine. I think like the only time that I've really experimented, I suppose, with it is more just like finding out my balance of like feminine and masculine like energies because everyone has both.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's
Mhm.
just like more of what you lean into more than the other and like what comes out in what way. And I think like especially when, well, I don't know, when I was younger, I guess I was a little bit like tomboyish and certain things that I would wear and do and stuff like that, and like that was fine and all. I never like was questioning myself otherwise, but I would go out of my way to buy like boys' shoes and stuff, but like they were literally so ugly. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah. So fair.
Embarrassing. Anyway,
It was embarrassing. Even Marty's catching a cold from
I
how
know.
embarrassing that was.
He's like, makes me sick.
He just vomits on the carpet.
I'm having an allergic reaction. But yeah, I think like the biggest experiment, I suppose, for me was like the first time that I shaved my head.
Yeah.
Not because like I did it because I wanted to be more masculine, but just naturally when you have a shaved head, like you're perceived in a more masculine, I suppose, way, depending on how you do it. And there were a couple times when, especially from behind, like I was called sir, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it wasn't like that it like fit me better, but it was like, yes, you can give me more rights. You can respect me in a different way, until I turn around and they're like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I always hated that.
I'm like, no, keep doing it.
Yeah, when people said that, and I was like, no, you're right.
No, yeah, you could call me that.
Yeah.
That's okay. I am daddy. Okay? Keep going. I'm zaddy right now. But yeah, I think like shaving my head in particular, like fashion in general has been a really great like experiment, I suppose, for me. Being able to like be feminine but also like express like masculinity as well. And for me, like going to the gym and like being strong and like muscular, because I'm not crazy big or anything, but I'm definitely like, I have like a muscular like stocky build, and I enjoy that. And I do honestly enjoy dressing in my little like feminine outfits at the gym and like pushing hard weight. I think for me that's like where a lot of that like balance of the two comes in, of like being strong and capable and not being the typical, that like I don't think it's like good or bad, but the like stereotype of like a more like like fragile, like whatever, like dainty woman.
Yeah.
Like that's not the kind of woman that I want to be. Like I enjoy being a woman, but I enjoy also like embracing that like strong like strength in myself.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
So that's for me. Again, I've never really had to live in a gender that didn't feel right for me, but I think like coming to terms with the balance of the two energies has been where my experimenting has come in. So that's me.
And I think that's fair for everyone. Like you said, like everyone has masculine and feminine energy. I think of course we tend to express it in a way that like society tells us to, and that I think that's something people often forget, is that society tells us to do it differently depending on what culture you're in or where you are. Or like how your culture identifies like masculine and feminine.
I mean, the amount of like, not that like I've like fully dealt with it, that everyone's like confronted me, but there are plenty of people who are like, oh, like women shouldn't be in the gym, women shouldn't be muscular, blah blah blah, and it's like boring take, but okay.
Yeah, it's literally like go like solve world hunger or something.
Literally,
like, literally, that's such a fucking stupid shit. Like to some degree, I can sort of see things when it comes to like arguments about like should there be someone home with the kids or something. Like, if you have kids, like I understand that in terms of like childcare is expensive and there's all sorts of things you could get into there. I don't obviously agree with everything. I think you should do whatever fits your lifestyle. And like what fits obviously also your budget and all that other stuff.
And also that has nothing to do, at least like in my mind, of like gender. Who has what genitalia.
Yeah, it more has to do with like what makes the most sense.
Like jobs and income and time, whatever.
I do think that like, because I've studied like gender studies, literally that's like my degree is sociology and women and gender studies.
Okay, liberal.
Yeah, it all like made sense in the end. But yeah, like as someone who studied like gender identity like in college and stuff, that is something that we talked about a lot. And it was something where it's like there's just obviously like different ways that we express gender, but also different ways that we understand and embody gender. So there's like a lot of different variables when it comes to it. And like there's also different variables in terms of like what actually works out in reality and what actually makes sense in reality, which we can get into a little bit later. But I do think that like traditional, like quote unquote, like biblical gender roles oftentimes kind of get like confusing because like you're supposed to be this like pious and like dedicated wife and then like a provider and like a hardworking like husband, and like obviously in today's society that isn't always like possible in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of people who literally cannot provide for their families, and in terms of like they have like a disability that doesn't allow them to work, or they just don't have like the best education compared to the wife who has a better education, stuff like that. So I think that, you know, like gender roles to some degree I understand because it helps us like understand and like put a box around like what we should be doing, and it kind of gives us direction. And that's why I think a lot of people try to really cling on to those traditional values, is like it gives you direction on what and who and how you should express your gender and like what it looks like. But it can just be like a little bit um simplified in a lot of ways, which is why I think a lot of people have rejected them, because it doesn't really work in reality in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And like you said, it's like a good outline for people who like need that direction and guidance. But also like I think people put a lot of emphasis on it, especially when it comes to like other people.
Yeah.
When like that's not your life. If it doesn't work for them, then it doesn't work for them. And like that's fine that it works for you, but like it's different for everyone. And I do think that, you know, in general, like children growing up, like I do think that it's important to have like a masculine and like feminine like guidance in their life, like role models and stuff like that.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they need like one father and one mother.
Mhm.
Like you can kind of get that from anywhere. You can get that structure like from either other family members or like other people in your life, or even like if one parent is like more masculine than the other, like, you know, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
I think that it's good to have that balance surrounding you, but at the same time, like you said, like it just looks different for everyone.
Yeah. And I do think we've talked about this before, but I think that it's also important to have like a variety of different people in a child's life anyway, just because it allows them to see different things and understand things in a different way, and it helps develop critical thinking skills and stuff. And that can also come into terms with gender, where we can have like more critical thinking around like, you know, not just like even what a woman does, but like where my place in society kind of lines up with like what gender is telling me it should, or whatever, right? There's a lot of things that go into that. And I also do think that like a lot of times when it comes to like specific gender roles, it's often just used to like control people.
Oh yeah.
Which obviously is problematic, because like now it's like, well, women shouldn't do this because I say so, instead of like, well, like this is like, you know, there's no like real reasoning behind it. It's just because like the person wants to be controlling or whatever.
Right. And I think, you know, there's a time and a place for certain people to be doing certain things. Like, I don't know, for example, when it comes to like jobs, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're a firefighter, it doesn't really matter what gender you are. However, if you can't like pick up the equipment, if you can't pull your own weight, then like that's a problem. But like you can
Right.
be a biological man and not be able to pull that weight.
Right.
You can be a biological woman and be able to. Like it has nothing to do with man or woman, and just like who as an individual can fit the criteria for that role.
Right. No, and it's funny too, because that specific example is something that I've argued with like actual people about, in terms of like, well, I wouldn't want a woman pulling me from a fire.
Well,
And
if you're
it's
being
like,
pulled from a fire, who fucking cares who it is? It could be a dog.
yeah, for real. But it's also like realistically, there's plenty of women out there that I would rather pull like me from a fire than like men, because there are plenty of men that like are not muscular and not strong enough to do that.
Exactly.
And also not brave enough. And that's not anything necessarily against them, but there's like a certain person who has to run into a building to like save people. You know what I mean?
Again, it comes down to the individual, not the gender.
Right, exactly. And it's really the same thing. I do think that there are specific instances where like gender does kind of matter. Like for example, at my job, there is like, I don't want to say like intimate touching, but there are like cases where
there's intimate touching at your job.
Well, but there are cases where like
it's just funny how it's worded.
Because I work at like a clinical like testing facility or whatever, but like we have cases where like people have to like touch other people, and like a lot of times like certain positions at my job can't be filled by men, and they won't hire men for, because like other people like the clients or whatever will feel uncomfortable, and they like won't do it.
I mean, it's like when you're at like the airport and like you have to get a pat down, like you can choose if it's a man or a woman doing it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, is that like unfortunately, and this is like a whole other topic, but a lot of people have been, you know, intimately assaulted by the other sex and don't want to be touched by them. And this really is for men and women, right? Like if a man was assaulted by women, didn't want to be intimately touched by women because they just felt uncomfortable with that, like they have the right to choose like someone of the same gender to be able to like touch them for certain, like for pat downs, like you said, or for like doctor's visits or something like that.
Right.
But then obviously like it doesn't mean that like a certain gender shouldn't do that job. It just means that like we should have both doing that job, because we need both doing that job in order to make everyone comfortable.
Exactly. And that again goes to like just from a personal standpoint, you should also be able to choose Marty. Besides Marty should not have any rights.
Yeah, for real.
But you should be able to choose, like, if you're getting a fucking pat down, like, who's doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, obviously, they're not going to have a full, like, list of people that you can choose from. But, like, at least in terms of, like, a man or a woman, like, you should be able to choose.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I feel like that's enough normie gender talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we'll get into my gender, which
normie gender talk.
Yeah, a lot more convoluted. So if you don't know, I personally use the term like gender queer, I guess, or like gender non-conforming. I don't love the term non-binary because it just doesn't really fit me, and it feels a little too popular.
And like buzzword kind of vibe.
Yeah, and like I just don't like that term. Like it doesn't really work for me. How I picture my gender is like if you have like a straight line of like male and women, I'm like male and female.
Male and women.
Yeah.
The two genders. Honestly accurate.
Literally. But if you have like a straight line, right, like of male and female, I'm like way above it and like more. And also better than.
Yeah.
That's literally how I picture my gender.
Your gender is like a greater than sign.
Yeah. Like because I just feel like I have so much more to offer than just being man or woman. And I just feel like I'm better than gender, which is egotistical but on brand.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever your story is, I'll respect it.
Thank you.
Whatever your delusion is.
At least to the end of June.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But
you have
that is my delusion.
11 more days.
Yeah, exactly. That is my delusional understanding of my own gender. And it's mainly because like to think about my own gender is really traumatic for me. So I just don't, and I just like make up like funny little story in my mind.
To be fair, I also feel like I'm a woman, but greater than.
Yeah.
So.
Fair. Greater than or equal to?
No, not equal to. No, not equal to.
Yeah. I do sort of identify as woman just because that's like what people perceive me as, and it's what I get treated as. And so in terms of that, I have experiences that other women also have, like being harassed. Yeah.
Okay. you know, if I feel like if you even present as a woman, like you're going to be harassed and like you're allowed to
Even if you're like a
be in
skinny
that.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if you're just like a feminine man, you're
Not
going
even
to
feminine,
be
literally just skinny.
true.
Like,
True.
yeah, like you're gonna get harassed no matter what, basically.
Yeah. God forbid you have long hair.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I like having shorter hair, to be honest, because sometimes people mistake me and it just makes my life a lot easier. So anyway, but I personally use like she, he, or they pronouns. Either one or all three are fine. I like they, them, but I also do find it quite cringe to use they, them pronouns. So it's just a little bit difficult. I haven't found something that really works, so I just go with whatever people call me.
Valid.
Essentially, but for me personally, when I was younger, I didn't really think about it so much because I didn't really understand the concept of man or woman. Honestly, like I had a lot of friends of both genders, and like I also as we talked about in like my birthday episode, was pretty unaware of like a lot of things. But
just in general.
Yeah, just in general. So I was very unaware of like my gender. And I also didn't have any like, and this is like we can get into or whatever. I didn't have like attraction to men, so I didn't really see them as anything different than me. So like it was just kind of like whatever. And then as I started to get older, I like kind of got more uncomfortable with all of the stuff that was happening, but I also leaned into it really heavy because I was like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So I grew my hair really long.
And not that we also had any like queer like people in our life.
Yeah.
At least like on a larger scale.
Right.
Like we had a couple of friends who were also like suicidal because of their identity. But that doesn't really count.
Well,
I mean more
and they're
like
also like figuring
adults.
themselves out. Yeah.
Right. Like figures in our life.
Yeah, we mainly had like a lot of normies. So.
Yeah. Boring normies.
Yeah, literally. And white, so.
Yeah.
On top of all of it.
True.
On Juneteenth of all days.
I know.
And
I know, not even for Pride Month could they pretend.
I know. But anyway, as I got older, I started playing into it more. And then like in high school is when I really started to like understand that I wasn't fully a woman. And like I would always call myself a dude because I was like, oh, like I'm not a man or a woman, like I'm just a dude, like I'm a bro, you know, like because dude to me is gender neutral.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was just like, oh, like I don't really see myself as like a girl. And like while I still did like, you know, dress very feminine, I like didn't feel very feminine at all. Like I always have felt very, very masculine. Like anytime I'm around like guys, I feel like one of the dudes, and then when I'm around girls, I feel like a man. Like I literally just feel like a man when I'm around women. So it's just very confusing and weird. But I also never felt trans. Like I never wanted to necessarily be a guy. There have been points in my life where I've thought about it, but it just never really made sense for me. So then
it's not like that would fix anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also I never felt like I am a man. Like I never really felt like that was my identity. It just felt more like I had a more masculine personality, but I don't mind my feminine body.
Right.
There are some parts of it like I personally would be probably a lot happier if I had like top surgery, to be honest. And also if I had a hysterectomy, I would be a lot happier. It's probably not something that will happen anytime soon. But it's just like I don't necessarily hate my feminine body. I just don't really care either way, I guess.
Right.
And I also don't want to like transition. Like I have no desire for that, and I don't feel like that makes sense for me, at least at this point in time. But then in college I started to experiment with it more. I would start like when I first started college, I would still wear dresses and stuff, and then like probably halfway through I stopped wearing dresses and I started dressing very masculine. I started like with people who were very close to me started going by a different name, and then I like dropped that because it was too much, and I like the name Cassidy, to be honest.
It's already like gender neutral.
Yeah. But I did start like experimenting with like they them pronouns and stuff like that, and then I told a friend that this was how I was feeling, and they basically told me that like non-binary people don't exist, and that I should be ashamed of myself, and that I was just hurting trans people and blah 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 blah.
Oh God.
And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then we stopped being friends, so it didn't really matter.
Okay, but it's like not to interrupt, but it's like honestly more cringe when it comes for people within the queer community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, if anyone should like be understanding, it should be you. And the fact that you're not, when like you're also going through it,
yeah,
embarrassing.
Yeah, it really was incredibly embarrassing, especially because like I don't understand why I'm not allowed to explore my identity and like the way I'm feeling, but you are.
Right.
It didn't make any sense to me, and like it really pissed me off.
And it's like not for nothing, but like you can be a different gender, but I can't just not.
Yeah, exactly. Like it really
What do you mean?
Really pissed me off. And honestly, like it like really like it didn't even make me like feel embarrassed for myself. It made me feel embarrassed for them. Like a lot.
As you should.
Yeah. And then from there, like I ended up shaving my head after I came back from Australia, which was my last semester of college. In Australia, I did dress quite feminine because I was around like a lot of people, and so it was just very uncomfortable. Country. Yeah, I was in a foreign country, but I also was with like all people I didn't know who were very normative and like very, I don't know, just like weird. Like I had one friend who like sort of understood what I was going through, but like I don't know. But also like I wasn't shaving either, and I still don't really shave that much. I just don't like feel the need to, and I also have light hair, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, the one who doesn't shave gets to have the light hair.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, mine is like dark, and as soon as I shave, it starts to grow back.
Yeah.
So
see, like I never really had that problem, so yeah. I just don't care.
It must be nice.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. But yeah, so I wasn't shaving like in Australia either or anything like that. So I had like pretty like I had like hair, but I still dressed like feminine. So I don't know.
Balance.
Yeah, and so then
yin yang.
Yeah, literally. But I was still like not super comfortable with like everything, and I was still trying to like figure things out. And I still feel like I'm trying to figure things out at this point because I still don't really know. And it always comes in cycles of like I feel more masculine, I feel more feminine, and like it kind of just goes back and forth. But I have a little bit more to say about that in a bit. But yeah, then I came back and I shaved my head, and that's where it like really hit me that I was like, I am not a woman. Because like when people called me like sir or like man, like or it would be like sir or he or whatever, like not only did I like it, but it like really felt good. Like it felt really good. It wasn't just like about like me being like, oh, like I feel like more, because I did feel a little bit more protected in a lot of ways when people like assumed that I was a guy. But I also just felt very affirmed in it. And it just felt really nice to have people like not call me like ma'am. And I don't know, like it's just hard to explain because I don't necessarily, again, like not want to be a woman. It's just I don't feel like one, and I don't feel like a man either, but like I feel in between, and it's hard to express that when people don't really have the words to like describe that, and we're still like gaining the language to like describe that. So it just felt really like nice to have people like say that, and I was like, oh wow, like for the first time I felt really seen. And then yeah, like after that I started experimenting a lot more, and I kind of like went again into like a more feminine phase, and like I feel like now I'm kind of more back to like a more masculine one. And it just kind of flip-flops. I will say that personally for me, I like dressing feminine. I think dressing feminine is a lot more fun. Because like I've tried to dress masculine, and honestly, like there are some masculine clothes that are nice, but honestly, like a lot of masculine clothes are like kind of boring, and like a lot of masculine silhouettes are very boring. So I do like like feminine clothing. I personally am now starting to experiment sort of with like using both at the same time, where I can kind of create like my own sort of style and own thing. And a lot of my style inspiration for me personally comes from like Elton John, because I feel like he dresses like kind of extreme and crazy, but I feel like he has that really nice like mix between like feminine and masculine and like
Or it's like the
performance.
glam of like feminine, but like the
Yeah,
style of masculine.
exactly. And like that's kind of where I'd like to head, I think, with my style, like as I come into like my own and like into a new era. Um, but like that's, I guess, sort of my story. It's kind of hard to explain, and it's kind of difficult to talk about because I feel like people really don't get it, and I always feel very, very judged like when I start talking about it, because people just like, don't understand. Um, and so I really don't say anything that often. Like I try not to, and I try not to like push they them pronouns, which as I've become more confident and stuff like that in myself, like it has been something I've asked of people, but it's still like one of those things where it's like I'd rather not like deal with it, and I just like deal with it by myself, if that
Mm.
makes sense. Um
Because also like part of it, I mean, especially like when you're not like one or the other, I guess, and like you're not particularly like dressing as one or the other, like performing as one or the other. It's
mhm.
like, well, people in like everyday life are not gonna know unless you have like a little badge on you or you tell them. But like people on the street are not gonna know that you go by this or that.
Right. And
And like it's not necessarily like out of hate or anything like that. It's just like people, like all of us do it. All of us are going to use pronouns that seem to fit the character that they play.
right. Well, yeah, and I do think that like kind of people who like get mad about that stuff, it's ridiculous, cuz like if I come up to you on the street, like I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know what you use.
Yeah.
Like uh of course you can ask, but if I'm just like really quickly being like, "Hey man, you dropped your wallet." Like I'm not going to be like, "Hey,
Like
what
what do
pronouns do you
you
use?" Yeah,
yeah.
like um
Like there's no point. And like
right.
unless like someone's using other pronouns like to be rude,
Yeah.
like it's not that serious. And like I understand that it's also like not my experience because like I've always looked like a woman and had people use like feminine pronouns like she her, but like at the same time, just from like my perspective, it's like I don't know, like you can't expect that much out of people, and it honestly has more to do with you than them because it's like don't even give people like that power either, because like if you, especially when it's not intended,
Yeah.
like if you let everyone around you upset you over something that's so personal like that, like you're literally never going to be happy.
Yeah, and it comes from a place of like insecurity,
You're right.
compared to like like being a gender warrior or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I
but
mean that typically does come from insecurity.
yeah, but you know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with your gender. It has to do with your insecurity and lack of confidence.
Yeah.
But of course, like again, that's like when it comes to like a stranger on the street who's just like approaching you for whatever reason.
Right.
And it's more like I guess I was speaking more to like people in my life,
Of course.
because again, like I've just had like so many bad experiences where it's just like not really worth it to talk about it with other people, because people just like even in my life, like on a personal level, just really don't get it. um and like of course, like there's people who try and whatever else, but it's just like not, I don't know, it's just like not worth it. But ultimately, like that is also like my journey with it, I guess. And again, like it's still kind of like ongoing, so we'll see what happens, I guess. But
Yeah.
um yeah, I just personally see it as like just like whatever, and I just don't really feel like either or. And it can be it can be kind of like a lot to deal with that when you have such a gendered society. Um, and like with pronouns and all that other stuff, like it really is kind of overwhelming because like there's so many days where I just want to be like, I'm not a woman. You know what
Right.
I mean? And it's just like it's really hard to like not be like that. And then there's other days where I'm like, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like hard. But ultimately I like have it better than other people, I guess, because like I like present a certain way, and so I get less harm realistically than like people who are like obviously transgender or whatever else.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's going to be a lot more bigotry and hatred for people who you can kind of tell, or who are like in the early stages of that kind of stuff. So I have still like privilege of looking like a cisgendered person, and I recognize that, but it still is sort of like a struggle at times. I do also, I don't know, like I don't know how to explain this because a lot of people were really mad about this, but there's this video that Trisha Paytas came out with,
Oh, I know exactly what we're talking about.
and it's a video where she talks about how she feels like she is trans but in the correct body.
Yeah.
And like, listen,
The
like,
way
you
that I
can,
watched it and I was like, that makes sense though.
right? That's literally
People were
sometimes,
so mad about it, but I was like, I believe her.
and it's like not like I get like how people feel about Trisha Paytas. Like I do get it. Like she has a lot of problems, right? Like
Yes.
we all do, but she has a lot.
But that's like honestly why she's famous.
Yeah. And she like put herself in that position to be famous. Like
Yeah. And she owns up to all of it.
yeah, she did it. She wanted that.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that video is like literally how I feel sometimes because I feel like a masculine person who is feminine, and
Mhm.
I like to present feminine, but I also feel masculine. So it's kind of hard to explain it in terms of like any other language other than like a person who is trans but born in the right body.
Yeah.
If that makes like it doesn't make any sense, but at the same time when you feel like that, it like really does. And that video was so validating for me because I was like, oh, like someone else finally fucking feels like that too.
Yeah.
It's like um it's just feeling both of those things at the same time that like creates this like dissonance in your own self, and like there's really not like a lot of ways to explain it in our language because like the speak of like talking about this kind of stuff is quite new, at least for like our like generation, and also for like the English language and all that other stuff. So there's just not those words for it, and that's why like that video like really validated me.
I love that you said that because I literally loved that video and everyone was so mad about it. But I was like, I fucking understand what she's saying though.
Yeah.
Like it genuinely made sense to me. And people, of course, like, there's the people who are just homophobic in general who are like, this is stupid, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then there are like the people within the community who are like, you're invalidating trans people. And it's like, maybe just like listen to what she's fucking saying and accept it as like an alternate experience.
Well, and I do feel like honestly, like as someone who kind of exists in this weird like amalgamation of queerness, for lack of better terminology, I
No,
guess.
I think that was the appropriate terminology.
Fair. But yeah, like I kind of feel like a thrown together queer.
It's the like amalgamation.
Yeah, exactly. But like I think a lot of people just take it too seriously because again, they're very insecure with themselves and they're very insecure with their own sexuality or gender identity or whatever, that they like have to lash out at other people like exploring it. And like it kind of just makes me mad in a lot of ways because like gender is not just like man, woman, trans. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not fair to be like, well, I get to be trans and I get to transition and I get to have my gender identity, but you can't have yours because yours makes me feel bad about myself.
Yeah, and doesn't fit into like the box that, because that's the thing about like especially like older, I think, trans people.
Yeah.
I mean, this obviously can be across like any generation, but like a lot of like older trans people, I feel, have the same idea of gender identity in terms of like, well, if I feel like I'm a woman, I have to strictly perform as a woman. I have to be passing as a woman. I have to live the life of a woman, or vice versa. Whereas, like, I think people who are just generally open-minded or more open-minded, or people of like younger generations, understand that it's not necessarily a binary, even when it comes to being trans.
Yeah. And again, I do think that like sometimes some people do kind of do like this whole little like dance of like, well, you have to be like perfectly in line with my like expression and gender, and it's going to change daily, and you have to just guess my pronouns, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's quite unfair, but like you can express yourself how you want day to day. How people are going to perceive you is not really your problem.
Yeah.
Of course, like it does kind of suck when people perceive you in a way that you don't want to be perceived, but
especially like the immediate people around you.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's also like who cares? Yeah. And also like as a like for people who are cisgender, they're also perceived in ways that they don't want to be perceived on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
By people around them as well as by strangers and like outside people, right?
Yeah.
So like it is what it is. Like people are going to perceive you the way that they're going to perceive you, and it's going to be clouded by the lens of whatever they're coming from. But if you want to play with your gender and you want to express yourself differently, and you want to dress a certain way or shave your head or do whatever you want and use whatever pronouns you want, like it's not a big deal. But you do have to kind of communicate that if you want people to perceive you a certain way, and you have to ask them to do that. But I do agree with like what you're saying as well, is that like I think especially like like kind of like millennials and older, and I do think of course there are people in Gen Z who still don't really get either. But I think that a lot of times what happens is with like millennials and older people, like they come from this time where you can't even be gay. Like being gay is a big deal, let alone being trans. Like you can't be trans. Like that's a whole other thing.
And if you're trans, like no one can know. You have to be so passing that no one can know.
Exactly. And it's a protective thing. It's a armor that they have to wear, because like they literally had to protect themselves from being burned alive, like physically burned alive, like having gasoline poured them and killed.
Yeah, it's not like being clocked is just like embarrassing or like hurts your ego. It's like you will die if you're clocked.
Exactly. And like that's exactly, I think, that like something a lot of people don't get. But I also think that like vice versa, like people don't understand that like now it is a little bit more open. Of course there's still places where it's dangerous and blah blah, but it is like a little bit more open now for people to kind of play around with that stuff. I also personally think that like social transitioning should be a lot more accepted, because I don't see any problem with someone choosing to like see what it's like to be the other gender, and then like going back if they want to. I don't think that's a huge problem. I think we should be experimenting with our gender and our sexuality and figuring out what we like and dislike, and that could be like, again, like just playing with your gender identity within the feminine range. Like there are females that like look completely different from each other, right? Like there are people who are super into like frilly and pink and like this and that, and there are people who are more like earthy tones and whatever, and then there's people who are goth. Like that's a range of femininity. Like there's different variations of femininity, so there can also be different variations of gender non-conformingness or transness or whatever. It doesn't have to be one thing, and it doesn't invalidate you and your identity.
Yeah. I just think in general, like, we honestly would have less problems overall, both like inside and outside of the queer community, if people would just like stop being so dramatic about it and stop like caring so much about like keeping things in a box. Cause like, I'm sorry, but like who fucking cares if there's a guy wearing a dress, or like them painting their nails, or like a woman with short hair or shaved? Like literally, like who fucking cares? And I'm sorry, but like what someone else does with their body and puts on their body has literally nothing to do with you. And you don't have to find everyone attractive. You don't have to find everyone to look the way that you want them to look.
Like, I think about this a lot.
That's literally so fucking selfish and just stupid. Like, it's so like, why does someone have to wear clothing because you think that they should be wearing it? Like, okay, then you wear it. Like, the fuck?
Right.
Who cares? It's not that serious.
No, it is kind of ridiculous to me. And, like, this is something I truly think about a lot because I do think, like, a lot of people oftentimes get really angry when other people are not attractive to them. And I do think that this often happens, not to be, like, binary or whatever, but like a lot of men tend to have this trait in them. I do think that this is like something that expands like everyone, but I do think it's a particular like soft spot for men in a lot of ways.
Because men love to assume that like especially every like woman is there to like get their attention.
Right. Like we perpetuate this idea that like women exist for male validation when it's like a lot of women don't. Even women who are attracted to men don't. Like most women are like trying to attract other women because like other women care more about what they're doing than men.
And even if it's not like a romantic or a sexual thing, like there are plenty of like straight women who still want other women's attention just because like it feels nice.
Well, and also
it's
like,
more validating.
It's more validating. Like if I put makeup on, like men aren't gonna fucking care if I have makeup on.
Bro, the amount of times that like someone will wear makeup and men are like, "Oh, you're wearing makeup? I didn't even know."
Yeah, and they're like,
or vice versa.
Natural beauty.
Yeah.
No, her eyebrows are literally black.
No.
What are you fucking
And like the way that like I've like been around men and then like showered and then been like, wow, you look the same with or without makeup. And I'm like, I literally wasn't wearing makeup.
Oh my god.
Like I was literally never wearing makeup.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can't tell if I was wearing makeup or not
is alarming.
Very alarming.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Or like I saw this one video like on TikTok and this lady had like a ton of plastic surgery, which is like whatever. But like literally she was like not one man has ever clocked it. Like they don't understand that like these cheekbones are like $10,000. And I was like, girl, yeah, like it's obvious.
Yeah. Like other women can like point it out immediately. Because also like, you know, we're held to that same beauty standard.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing.
Right. And we're also there with our girls like at the Botox store. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We're like, oh my god, can I do a CC?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but I do think that like again it spans all genders where we like think that there's this idea that like everyone has to be attractive for us. And that's just not really true. Like people can just be who they are, and like if you find them attractive, it's one thing, but you don't have to like care about it. But I do
let people be ugly.
Yeah. But I do think too that another problem, again, this is a little bit particular or like it's a soft spot for men. I think that men have a huge problem with finding people who are not biological women attractive.
Oh, yes.
Specifically like feminine men.
Yes.
People who don't exist in the binary and people who are like trans women.
Yeah.
Especially men who are like not comfortable with their sexualities. I do think that women have this too also, like as well. But
it's more prominent in
it's
like
not
men.
as prominent
and
it's
like
also not
violent.
As scary.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not like women can like yell and scream, but like at the end of the day, they're gonna like probably walk out, whereas like men will like kill you. Not all men. But
hashtag
like,
not all men.
But like,
also hashtag a lot of you bitches.
But like you don't want to be with that like wrong one.
Yeah.
That like will. And like I guess like there are women serial killers, whatever. Like you're not like trying to be sexist.
Girl bossing.
Yeah, girl bossing and
girl slaying.
Yeah, exactly. Girl stabbing.
Yeah.
But like oftentimes, typically, it's like men who get mad when they're attracted to people who don't exist in the binary. And I do think that a lot of times that makes them very uncomfortable and then they lash out because of that.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that has to do with like this idea that men can't be feminine, including like heterosexual men, where it's a lot more okay for heterosexual cisgendered women to be masculine.
Yeah.
And it's fine, and like it doesn't really matter. And like you could say it's patriarchy or whatever you want to say, and we can like psychoanalyze that all day. But at the end of the day, it's really like men are just not allowed to be feminine or like get in touch with their feminine side. And like I just think that that's really sad, because I was talking about this with someone the other day, is like being feminine is way more fun.
It really is.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more like just cool. Like femininity is just way more like fun. Like it's just more like loose. Like there's a lot less rules. You can play around with makeup and hair, and
it's just
and
creative.
dressing. Yeah, exactly.
It's
like
much
there's
more creative
flow.
side. Exactly.
And like it just sucks. Like it honestly makes me really sad for like people who aren't in touch with their feminine side. Whether or not it's a biological man or just someone who's maybe not biologically a man but has to reject their femininity for one reason or another. Because even like people who are trans men can still like access their femininity. Like there's no reason to hide it. We're still allowed to be feminine beings, but I think it's more fun and more like natural and like a lot more nice to
and
be.
just like in general, like I think it's only healthy to have a balance of both.
Exactly.
And like you can embrace one more than the other if that's what feels right for you, but to like fully reject one side is like literally unhealthy. Because also like especially when it comes to straight men who are in relationships with women, it's like when you don't have any connection with your own femininity, I don't feel like you can fully connect with your partner.
Or you put it all on them to like basically be that
feminine
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's not fair. Like either way, it's not fair. It's not fair if you can't fully connect with them, and it's not fair if you're using them for that femininity.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's often like what we've been taught, kind of going back to like gender roles, is that we've been taught that men have to find their femininity through women.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. Like you can be a whole person, be masculine and feminine, and still be very comfortable with yourself and comfortable with your body, and not have all these insecurities about like, am I being man enough? Am I being this or that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just not like really fair. And I do think that like as we progress with like our ideas around identity and gender and sexuality and stuff, I do hope that that's something that, you know, cis straight men can find for themselves. That's my goal. That's my hope.
Yeah. Bell on Earth out here looking out for the cis straight men.
Our homies.
We care about you.
We don't.
Even if no one else does.
We do have a whole episode on incels, so
true.
We love you guys.
Yeah. Even
anyway,
though none of them are our fans.
Yeah.
Probably. Eventually they will be. Once they hear this ep, they'll be all over us.
They will. I think that leads us into
furries.
Furries. Okay, so
the straightest thing you can do.
Literally. I am like mildly obsessed with furries though. I think that they're great. If you don't know what a furry is, I don't know where
I'm not explaining it to you.
Yeah.
Just look it up.
But they're literally like some of the greatest people. Like not personally, like I don't know if I would talk to one, but I love furries so much.
I would talk to one. Yeah. I would talk to one. Well, I would talk to their fursona.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would talk to the human underneath.
Right.
But I want to get to know their fursona.
We would love to have a furry on the pod.
We absolutely.
That's like our goal in life.
I want to go to like FurCon.
Yes.
And just like exist. I'm curious. I want to explore.
I want to experience.
But
I really like what I love about like furries in particular is like the fact again that they get to like really play with their like identity and their perception of like themselves, and they get to kind of create this character. And of course, it is like a suit or whatever, right? Like it's a giant suit and it's thousands of dollars.
But it almost makes it easier to like portray something else when you're not like
Yeah.
showing your face.
Right. Well, I guess that's what I was like sort of getting at, is that like I often feel like I'm portraying this character as just like myself.
Yeah.
Like again,
Which is
like,
more difficult.
Yeah. Like I really see myself as like something else
Same.
compared to just like a human that I exist in. And like my body is really meant to like be played with and stuff like that. Like in terms of like the look of it and like how I dress it. It's like almost like
It's just a character.
But I love this idea of like not only being a character in your own human body, but putting a secondary body on and being like this entirely different being.
Yeah.
Like it just really speaks to me. And I am way too poor to be a furry. But if someone gave me a fursuit for free,
yeah,
I would wear it.
No, it's kind of crazy, like the way people will talk about furries, but like, do you understand that these people, like, I'm sorry, but they have to be loaded.
Yeah.
You have
Or
to
you
be
have to
loaded
save for a long time,
right, at the very least.
Yeah.
Like to be able to just like get a fucking fursuit, even like make it on your own, like that's a lot.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
And these FurCons are not cheap.
No. I mean, there are some people that just have like the head and they'll have like a tail.
Right.
And then they'll have like their normal
Which I feel like
body.
we'd have to do that.
Yeah, probably. Well,
We'd
also,
have to,
I feel
like-
like for me it'd probably be like less hot. Honestly. Like in terms of temperature.
Oh, I was like, what do you mean by that?
Oh no. I meant like temperature wise, because I can get like a little sweaty, you know.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
I would literally just looking at them, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
I was like a mascot once for one of my old jobs. It was cold that day. And by the end of it, my hair was drenched.
Yeah.
Like my sweat everywhere. I don't know how people do it as furries.
They must have like vents, right? Like
I
or
don't know,
something.
man. Even those mascots in like Disney and like Times Square and stuff, I'm like, bro, it's
Well, they're just,
hot
like,
out.
abused.
What?
I said they're just like abused.
I'm sure most furries were abused too. Come on.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, they're currently being abused.
Oh.
Because they're meant to, like, work, like, extremely long hours, and those costumes are really heavy.
Yeah.
So it's, like, a whole thing. Like, I've seen a lot. I've been on, for some reason, I've been on, like, or not, like, X, like, Disney talk or whatever. Like, people who used to work at Disney and now don't. And
Right.
they talk about, like, how abusive it is and how they don't get breaks. And it's, like, the same thing as every other fucking company, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so a job.
Yeah. They don't get paid. They have to,
They
like,
get UTIs every day because they can't use the bathroom.
Yeah. They, like, have to live
Been there, done that.
at Disney, but then they don't have, like, free accommodations, but they also don't get paid enough money to stay at Disney.
Yeah, they, like, live in the shrubs outside Magic Kingdom. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. But furries, like, you order your costume, so you would think that, like, if you're like a sweaty person, you would like maybe be able to like customize it so that there would be like vents or something.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm just saying, if you're a furry listening to
I mean, to be fair, if you're gonna spend like, if you're gonna drop $6,000, let's say, on a fursuit,
I think it's like 10.
I'm saying listen, I'm lowballing here.
Right.
Just the head, we'll say.
Okay.
If you're gonna drop that much money on any part of your fursuit, like, you're gonna put like a built-in fan there or something like that, right? You can buy one at like Five Below and just like glue it in.
Yeah, you could do that.
Like, that's what I'd spend my money on.
The fan.
The built-in fan in my fursuit.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm already dropping that much money, I might as well just drop a little bit more.
And put a fan.
Yeah.
Put, like, full, like, central AC.
Exactly. Like, wire it
Like,
throughout.
piping.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly.
A little, like, water dispenser. Like, you know those
like
little, like,
a
hamster?
bottle?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean.
And, like, also you'd have to have a hatch in the back so you can, like, go poop or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're a furry, okay, again, we need a furry on the pod. But if you're a furry, right, can you just poop outside? Because then you're an animal, and that's fine.
I would think so. Right?
Like, how
would they know?
Are you getting out of your fursuit and pooping? And then putting it, you can't even poop in rompers.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a tragedy.
Yeah. Like, you have to take the whole thing off. Like, there's no way you're getting me out of a fursuit to, like, shit and piss.
And, like, that head alone has to weigh, like,
a lot.
10, 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even that much room in a stall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and at FurCon, it's not like they're building these buildings for furries. Like, it's for, like, a regular con, and then they have furries there.
Do you think they, like, require, like, an outside area?
So you can, like, shit and piss outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they can get
They have,
those,
like, fire hydrants.
Well, you can get those, like, porch potties.
Yeah.
So, just line them up.
Yeah. And at least maybe a couple litter boxes.
Yeah.
You don't know what fursonas are gonna show up.
That's fair.
You need to give them options.
Okay. Again, I'd love to talk to someone about this. Are there more? Because the ones I always see are like cats, dogs, foxes, wolves, and sometimes like a mouse or two. I don't see like squids. Where are like the dolphins?
I know, it's like not very diverse, huh?
Yeah.
There needs to be like a diversity board for FurCon.
I have seen hijabi furries, which I think is cool.
Oh wow, cute.
Yeah. Yeah, like I saw this one person, I see them on Instagram a lot, and it's like they're a hijabi, but then their fursona.
Oh, you know what? I saw that actually.
Yeah, she's pretty popular, or I don't really know, whatever.
Yeah.
But their fursona is also a hijabi, which I think is cool.
We love that.
Yeah.
We love representation in the fur community.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also feel like I see a very like slim number of species being represented. Although I will say I have seen a couple of like create your own species. Where they're just kind of
consist of?
Oh, I don't remember exactly what they were, but they just like were like they were not a specific animal.
Oh.
They were like an animal, but it wasn't like a real one. They like created it.
Okay. I guess that's fair. But I'm just saying, like, where are the frogs? Or like
No, I know.
Like
there are so many cool animals.
Yeah. I get it because, like, you know, frogs don't have tails. So,
you like don't need one.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the tail is fun because you get to like swish it. You know what I mean?
True.
I feel like we yearn for the tail.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know how hard I yearn.
I yearn.
I yearn. You know what though? If you had a tail, would you want it to like express emotion or to like use as like weaponry?
Emotion.
So you'd want to like wag it and shit.
Yeah.
See, I'd want to like hurt someone.
Well, see, like, because I feel like for me personally, right, I would rather see their face while I'm hurting them. So I like to use my hands or like my teeth. But
what
like,
if it's a long tail?
But I'd rather use it as like a dog, like where I express emotion. Like maybe to like swing from trees or something.
But like what about like last resort, you know? What if they're coming from behind? Like I have a destructive tail, but yeah, I have my fucking arms too. Like
okay, yeah. I don't know what you mean by destructive. Do you mean you have like a chainsaw for a tail? Like
I mean, yeah, there are like animals with like crazy ass like heart, like, you know, lizard shit.
I guess like that's
I've seen like
fair.
a dragon, you know?
Well, yeah, but a dragon I feel like has both. Like if I had the option for you asked me if I wanted either or. If I have the option for both, that's fine.
Okay.
But if it's either or, I personally would rather use my tail for emotion because I feel like it's easier to express emotion with my tail than like my face.
I don't think that's how it works, but if that's the reality you choose to live in, I will respect it from a distance. God creating the like 800 muscles in your face just for Cassidy to be like, I feel like they're not that expressive. I feel like a tail shows more emotion. Meanwhile, there's like 3 directions a fucking tail can go. Literally, like, animals can perceive emotion via faces.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, I feel like a tail. I feel like a tail can express it better.
I do feel that. Okay, stop denying me.
I literally am not denying.
I'm crying.
Good. I feel like that comment should make you cry.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
All right, so what would the rest of your like fursona look like? Not to put you on the spot. We can always adjust as needed.
Right. So I guess the thing is that like if I were to have a fursona, like are you saying like what animal would I be, or would it be like a create your own, like non-animal type
I mean,
thing?
this is your fursona. Whatever
Okay.
feels right, I guess.
I guess I would be like more like alien like, but still like I'd like to have like little ears because I think that's just cute.
Yeah.
But then I do feel like antennas would also be cute, so maybe both, right? I feel like I have this color that my Bitmoji is on Snapchat. It's like this purpley blue color. That's the color I'd want to be.
It's a good color.
Yeah. I don't know if I want. I feel like I don't know. Like I don't know if I want a snout or not. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
In terms of like other I guess like the rest of the body is just my body like with fur, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, like I wouldn't.
It's up to you.
I don't think I would like extra arms or anything like that. Just because like my fursona, I guess, could have it, but if I can't control them with like my actual arms, like that's gonna be a problem for me. So I would not like it on my costume, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We could have those where it's like you have more, but they're like kind of connected, so they move like with you.
Yeah, but I still can't
they're not
like
like
grab
independent.
things. Yeah, like I'd want them to be independent and I want to have like full control.
Yeah.
But like since I don't personally have extra arms where I could do that,
yeah,
I would rather just have 2 arms and 2 legs and a tail.
Fair.
Maybe like a dragon tail or something, like where it's kind of like big at the top and then like smooths out at the bottom, like skinnies out.
But only if it's emotional, huh?
Yeah. Has to have emotions. It has to convey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be me. What about you?
I feel I could also use some antennas.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think they're helpful.
Yeah, I feel like they're more helpful than like whiskers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know if I do whiskers.
No.
Like sorry, but
personally I would want a snout. I feel like that's cute. And it's like I like the length on my face. I feel like that's useful. What for? We'll find out. But I feel like it could be useful to have a lengthy face.
Yeah.
Color-wise, I feel like I'd be like a light blue. I would want a tail. I would want.
Oh, so you want the tail?
Yeah, but I want it to be destructive.
Oh,
I never said I didn't want a tail.
We already went over this.
Yeah,
You're right.
chill out. I care less about conveying emotion. My emotion is die. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna come up from behind me, die. I would also want a fat
ass. Yeah.
I want it to be thickums. I feel like a plump booty could look good in blue. Being real. But I also need like a thick tail. Because like, could you imagine having a giant ass and like a scrawny ass tail?
That's what Marty has.
Exactly. That's what I don't want.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No. Could you imagine being built like Marty? Disgusting.
I can't imagine paying like $10K for that.
To have a muffin top over my tail.
Oh
I feel like I'd be like velvety soft too.
Oh,
I'd be like one of those creatures that like they fake you out, right? They're like really deadly, but they look so cute, so you come over and pet it, and then it's like venom or some shit.
That's literally like the voice that they all have too.
Yeah. Well, that is the voice that I'd have. Hello, little friend. Slight accent, a little racist, but you know, I'm an animal, so it doesn't matter.
So it's fine. Little racist. I feel like furries are like mildly racist.
Yeah.
But it's because like they're not human.
Yeah.
And so it's like animals are also mildly racist.
Yeah, but it's like you can't blame them.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
They get a pass.
See color.
Yeah, and they're not like saying the N-word. They're just like,
well, I don't know what furries do at FurCon.
True. Yeah, I guess furries are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But just like animals in general.
I mean, they might not be saying the N-word in our language. We don't know what they're saying in their
I feel like slurs are allowed.
Like in the animal kingdom?
Yeah. Because I feel like humans are kind of unique in the sense that like we were like very like tribal and like specific to our little communities and stuff, but now that we like are all like, you know, one
mixed
big
together.
like melting pot or whatever, like we're supposed to be like friends and shit. But animals, it's still very like, this is my species and that's yours,
right?
And yeah, there's a little intermingling, but like it's, you know, it's different, but like that's the wild, that's life or death.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
That's not like a higher consciousness, I suppose. We're like, you know, we're supposed to love one another and everything.
Right.
We're there like, are you prey or not, bitch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Now it's just like, which fursuit do I bring to FurCon?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, woo.
And the thing is that, like, what I love about this is we're not making fun of furries. Like, we genuinely
I love them.
Furries. I love them.
If I make fun of things in this way, that's how you know that I love it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They deserve my loving humility.
Exactly. Oh, back to my fursuit a little bit. I decided that I wanted claws, but like Wolverine claws.
Were they like retractable ones?
Yeah,
that's slay.
Yeah, because I don't want them out all the time, like cats. You know what I mean? Like I'd like it to come back inside, but then like to have them come out sometimes. I do also think I would not like a snout, but like maybe like a small one, like the way the cat has, like a small little one, but like, you know, like a dainty snout, but nothing too big.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like that's a lot to breathe from.
I beg to differ.
Okay, well, I feel like beg to differ all you want.
All right, well, let me just explain. I beg to explain.
Your beg has been
I feel like if you have a snout, you have more room for air passage. I mean, that's why like brachycephalic breeds like die.
Well, because they smushed inside my face. Right. Because that's the difference, is that like a brachycephalic breed.
It's like internal.
It's literally internal. Their mouth is like a fucking scoop. Whereas like a cat, like you have like that little bit of snout, but it's not like too big.
Fair.
Yeah.
I want to store all the oxygen I can.
Guess that's fair with your fan.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's fair.
I want a fan, like I want like miniature fans on the edge of my nostrils. So every time I breathe, it's like cool air. I have like nostril filters.
Yeah, I have heard that FurCon doesn't smell the greatest, so
well.
But you're wearing suits all day. There's no way that they're going to smell good.
Yeah, I like even
like the non-sweatiest, non-stinkiest person is gonna smell in a suit all day.
Like, go to a fucking sports team's locker room.
Yeah.
You would say the same shit.
Right.
Oh, but because it's a furry, we're gonna judge?
Well, yeah.
We won't.
We won't, but yeah.
But most people will.
Well, but I also understand, like, because in a sports game... It was like the gayest thing I've ever said in my life. But like in a sports event, right? Like it's outside usually.
At like a football game or whatever it's called.
At like a Quidditch match. Yeah. But it's usually outside. Or like if it's inside, it's cold. Like hockey.
Basketball is inside. That's not cold.
I forgot about basketball.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, that doesn't count.
And hockey players honestly smell worse.
Yeah, but you don't smell them
because they have all
cold.
that gear. You might not smell them. Have you been to an ice arena?
Yeah.
Bro, that shit smells so bad. At least outside, there's like fresh air and like wind.
I said outside, it doesn't smell bad.
Wind
it's outside. I'm not arguing that.
Oh, okay.
No, outside it smells fine because there's fresh air and wind.
Yeah.
And then also like there's usually food and stuff, and that I feel like covers up some of it.
Keep going. We're gonna skip over that part.
I think we shouldn't talk about sports. Anyway. But yeah, like I feel like at FurCons, like you're just in a suit all day, right? And it's inside, probably not ventilated, and not everyone's gonna have a fan, so
yeah, the peasant furs. The underprivileged fursonas. Unfanned. Unworthy of circulation.
Oh my god. Would you have stripes, you think? I don't think I'd have stripes.
I feel like I'd have spots.
Oh, spots.
Spots are cute.
Like rounded spots or more like cheetah where it's like a little like textured.
Like unique shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah, round's boring.
Wait. Cheetahs are spotted.
Yeah.
Do they have like the textured ones? Or is that jaguar? I think that's jaguar. I think cheetahs have spots.
What do you mean by textured ones?
Well, like, you know how like they have like it's almost like a U type of.
That's cheetah.
Is that cheetah? Then what's jaguar? Or that's leopard.
Leopard, yeah. I was like, there are different kinds of jaguars, but a lot of them are like, okay, literally pictures of cars coming up.
Oh, gross.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
I also think that my fur would be a little bit longer. I think it'd still be soft, but it'd be a little bit longer.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just to clarify. Yeah, jaguars and leopards like basically look the same. They're just like jaguars tend to be larger and bulkier. but they have like the same pattern.
Oh, okay. And that's just like a circle?
Yeah, it's like the little...
That's what I mean by textured.
I don't think that's the proper use of textured. If that's what you meant by textured, then I am appropriately confused.
Well, I just mean it's not like just a straight up circle. What?
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I feel like I would have like not like circular spots, but like I'd have texture.
Uh-huh.
I'd have some kind of pattern on me.
But your fur would be short, right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be short. I feel like I don't want to groom myself like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to have a long hair.
Yeah.
And then your like poop gets caught in your butt. As we know very well.
Yeah.
Like fettuccine, clean ass every day. Mickey, Donnie, and Safi, fucking poopy butt galore. Fucking leaving imprints all over the house.
Yeah. I feel that. I do feel like I'd have a little bit of like longer fur. Like not too long, but like a little bit.
Yeah, you're like medium hair.
Yeah, like medium would probably be best.
Yeah, that's fair.
What else? I don't know if I'd have any spots or stripes. I think I'd just be pure. Be pure blood.
Right. You'd be the blonde hair, blue-eyed furry.
Yes. With like a little bow.
The master race furry.
Yeah.
Fair.
With my antennas.
With your antennas.
Yeah. I do think I'd have a bow. Like
yeah,
on
why
one
not?
of my ears or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
We like a good bow.
Yeah, we love a bow. And then like, because I think furries have like clothes on and stuff, right? But I feel
sometimes
like clothes I wouldn't necessarily choose until like later.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care that much about the clothing.
Yeah. And also like, I don't know, they would change.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If I'm gonna have a fursuit, I want like interchangeable outfits.
Like an American Girl doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd like to have like sparkle pants and maybe like a sparkle jacket and then like just nothing underneath, like a douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like my furry body.
Yeah.
But I also don't think you wear shoes, right?
I mean, I'm sure you can if you want.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I feel like that'd be too much to have shoes.
Yeah. Would you have nipples?
That's a good question. Maybe like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Or like maybe I guess like 6 because you don't want to be even.
Yeah.
But like similar to like how like
Yeah, could you imagine 5? just a random one in the fucking middle or something.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
On like your forehead.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like your third eye, but it's just a nipple.
Yeah.
And when you're like enlightened, yeah, when you're enlightened, it like squirts milk.
Perfect. No, I think I'd have like a couple, but not like just 2.
That's what a couple is, Cassidy.
Well, but like a couple of pairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that my fursona has like a nipple vibe.
It's just nippleless.
Yeah.
It's like Kyle XY.
Well, I think he had nipples.
Well, he didn't have a belly button.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had nipples.
It was like, it's Kyle XY if it wasn't.
Yeah. Oh my god. Is that it? Do you have anything else to add to your fursona?
Wings.
Ooh, that's a good addition.
I would definitely do wings.
Can
I
also have wings?
I guess. You get nipples and wings? Unfair. You can only have one.
I only have an emotional tail, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you have an emotional support tail.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like I would ooh-woo in my costume, right? So, I need a tail to support myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
You know.
That's fine. Yeah, you can have that, I guess.
And then maybe, well, but I don't know, because I already have retractable claws. I feel like wings might be a lot. Maybe tiny ones.
For show.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Bees have tiny wings and they still fly.
I guess so.
Could be a bee. If Jerry fucking Seinfeld could be a bee, then so can I.
I guess so. I mean, you have the antennas already.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close. Yeah, I'd want big ones. I'd want to show them off.
No, I think I'd like to have mini ones, minty.
Yeah. That's fine. You can have that.
And I'd like them to be iridescent.
That's cute.
Yeah. But not rounded. I think more like a dragon wing where it's a little bit jagged.
Yeah, no, that's what I'd want.
Yeah.
I'd want mine to be
not a bibble or something, you know.
Yeah. Not a bibble. How dare. Hashtag no bibble.
No bibble fursuit.
That is a good hashtag.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give us that.
I'm gonna put that on our post for this one.
Ugh, amazing. Well, I think that's it for now. I think we need time to come up with our true fursona, and we'll get back to everyone.
That's gonna be the only reason we actually raise money for this podcast is to buy a fucking fursuit.
Deadass.
Yeah.
And worth it. Literally worth every dime.
So true.
Well, question of the day. What would your fursona be?
Yeah.
What would they look like? How would they act? I feel like personality we can decide at a different date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. No, we went through a lot just to get the looks.
The personalities. I mean, we already went through a lot of fucking character development, so.
I know. Exhausting.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, tell us what your fursona would be, what it would look like. If you already have a fursona, share and submit to Beyond the Pod because we could possibly want to talk to you.
Yeah, I would high key have a furry on here.
Depends who though.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
We need a good fursona. Yeah. If you don't fit our standards, rejected.
If you're a bibble,
yeah. No bibbles on the pod.
No bibbles.
No bibbles allowed.
No. Well, that's our talk on gender identity
and furry.
Furry.
And furry identity.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Go eat some ass. And wear a fursuit. We all have ass. Ass is neutral.
We all have bussies.
I guess.
It's a butt pussy.
Yeah, I guess so.
We all have pussies.
We do.
That's what connects all of us together is our mutual having of a pussy.
True. So human centipede. We're all just connected by our pussies.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. We should have that as merch.
Yeah. If you feel your pussy clench, it might have been us.
You're welcome.
If you felt a little tickle, it might have been us thinking about your pussy. So until then, there's only one thing left to say. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Bell on Earth, the podcast. We hope that your minds have been expanded and your pussies have been opened.
Be sure to rate and follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
This podcast is brought to you by Free Studio Productions. It's hosted and produced by Cassidy and Casey Bell. Big thanks to our executive producer, Dark Benton.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for all of your content needs. See you later, haters.